Hey everyone, Clay here. Just wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on. I said July was going to be a busy month, and it has been. Curse of the White Knight #1, Sean's newest Batman book, is on the stands right now, and my Kickstarter for the graphic novel I'm going to be doing called Bloody Hell goes live on Monday, August 5th. So if you want to be in the loop with more information about that, you can head over to bloodyhell.com. That's Bloody Hell with one L, BLOODYHEL.com. Right now, it's a sign-up page for my email list, which I would, recommend jumping on if you want to get all the exclusive stuff, all the exclusive knowledge before it starts on the 5th. But that will also link to the Kickstarter page once that goes live. So yeah, everything you need to know about my Kickstarter for my graphic novel Bloody Hell can be found at bloodyhell.com, BLOODYHEL.com. And be ready for when that thing goes live on August 5th. All right, thanks guys. Enjoy Batman. Welcome again to the BATTASS podcast, the Batman the Animated Series show podcast, where we talk about Batman the Animated Series. My name's Clay McCormick, and with me is
Sean Murphy, your co-host.
And we will be doing 2 episodes today, as always. We'll be doing today the Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne, and If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich?
Right.
And we'll jump right into it. We'll start with Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne. Story by David Wise, teleplay by Judith. Man, my brain isn't working today.
Yeah.
Teleplay by Judith and Garfield Reeves Stevens, directed by Frank Power. And in it, after a prominent judge is injured during a struggle with some thugs demanding money from her in exchange for a strange tape, Bruce Wayne decides to take a trip to Yucca Springs, a resort where the judge had vacationed, and consult Dr. Hugo Strange, a psychiatrist. I really feel like that these Wikipedia breakdowns could be worded better.
Yeah.
Just like as far as putting the important information up front.
Yeah.
Bruce soon learns that Strange has invented a machine that extracts people's darkest secrets from their minds and transfers them to videotape. And now Strange has proof of Bruce's secret identity as Batman and plans to auction it to 3 of Gotham's prominent crime bosses. Based on comic stories The Dead Yet Live and I Am the Batman, from Detective Comics 471 and 472, and from 1977 by Steve Englehart. And notably, Dr. Strange's scheme in this episode was similarly used by the Riddler in Batman Forever.
So it says that in Wikipedia.
It does, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you mentioned that when we were watching it.
Yeah, I was surprised because I guess that would be. Well, I guess they made these before. Batman Forever was like 96 or 95 or something.
This was already out for 4 years.
So, because I was wondering between this one and the Riddler, because we have the first Riddler episode, whether or not maybe it was like around the time that Batman Forever was coming out. But I guess this was a little bit before.
Right.
So, what do you think about Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Bruce Wayne?
If you pitched this to me and you said Bruce accidentally talks to a therapist who records all of his dreams, and this therapist realizes he's Batman, and has visual proof, whatever, and auctions it off, and then Batman has to figure it out. That sounds good. Like this episode on paper makes a lot of sense of why it would be like, ooh, that's a big problem for Bruce, Yeah. But the way it comes across is just it just is a kid's show.
Yeah.
It's so hokey and goofy, and yeah.
Yeah. It has, oddly enough, it has 2 elements to it that we've seen at least one element we've seen at least once before. Another element we've seen a few times, where it's rich guys going to a spa and getting extorted because of it, which they've done at least once before.
Yep. Poison Ivy.
Yeah, and the other one is, this memory machine is basically the same thing that they do anytime Batman gets poisoned by the Scarecrow.
Oh yeah.
Like you see that like really
they freak out.
over
My
the
parents
top.
are dying again.
Yeah, with giant gun and like the tombstones growing out of the ground and stuff. So it's not really anything new for the show.
Right.
Hugo Strange is not really an interesting. The way he's played here, anyway, is not super interesting. He's just sort of a stock evil scientist.
Yeah, and the idea of Joker, Two-Face, and Penguin getting onto an airplane with each other to go and bid on, it's just kind of ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. Not only are do they all fly in on the same plane?
Yeah.
Then they would just walk them in through the front door.
Yeah.
While Alfred is out like pruning a cactus for some reason.
Bags of money just falling out of their
yeah.
I think that Joker probably saves this a little bit because Mark Hamill's always funny and goofy, and at one point Batman is fighting with them on a plane, and he basically sabotages the plane. Yes. It's going to crash, and then jumps out.
He cuts the fuel line.
Yeah. So okay, what if that plane went down and they all died? Wouldn't that break your kind of
that would be? I'm pretty sure that's attempted murder.
Yeah.
No matter how you shake it.
Yeah,
but
definitely attempted murder.
Since it was Batman, he knew that it wouldn't do that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's kind of it's fine. It's fun to get. I found it enjoyable. Mainly because of the appearance of Two-Face and Joker and the Penguin.
Right.
Clearly, as we've pointed out, I have a bias towards the recognizable characters.
Right.
But even there, it was, they only kind of show up for a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
There was some cool stuff in it, though. Like, I really, really liked, what was it? At the beginning, when Gordon is talking to Batman after they save the judge, Batman is not just standing among the cops and talking. He's like hidden off to the side of the bridge in shadow. I like that a lot.
Yeah, the animation on the first part of the story looked really good. Yeah. The opening shot is a foggy bridge. You can't even see the base of the bridge because it's so foggy. The camera angles are great. Like, I think the setup, the beginning of it is really strong. But I don't know. It's just if I wanted a good Mr. Free Two-Face story or any of these villains, I would go to other episodes.
Yeah.
If I wanted rich guy gets black belt story, I would go to the Poison Ivy episode. If I wanted Batman to be afraid of losing his identity, I would go to that episode where that guy wants his mask.
Yep.
Like, they're all, I feel like there's no reason to send someone to this episode because you have better versions of this in previous episodes.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, even though Hugo Strange is a character from the comics, he is presented almost in a way where he's like one of the created for the show one-off villains.
Yeah.
In that he's even actually worse than that because he can't hold the story by himself. It felt like to me they brought in the Joker, Penguin, and Two-Face as a way to kind of just spice up the end of the episode. Yeah. Because it's kind of, there's not really anything else to it,
Even when Hugo tells them that Bruce Wayne is Batman, they just roll their eyes and ignore it. And then Two-Face is like, I used to be friends with him. There's no way he's Batman. So the stakes, what was so scary was these villains were going to find out and they were going to use it against them. And then they find out anyway and they just decide to shrug it off, which takes away the seriousness of the dilemma. Yeah. So, I didn't think that was necessary.
Yeah, and the stuff with Robin was kind of fun, where he dresses up like Bruce.
Yeah.
And I believe this is the first Hugo Strange episode. I don't know if he comes back, but
I think he comes back in Justice League.
Yeah.
Or one of the other offshoots.
Yeah, but he's a character who's been around since 1940.
Yeah. Not surprised.
He was created, he first appeared in Detective Comics 36 as a scientist who uses a stolen concentrated lightning machine to generate a dense fog every night, allowing his gang to rob banks unseen.
Right.
Though he knows that Batman poses a threat to him.
Right.
So we were talking during this that neither one of us are really well versed in Hugo Strange.
Yeah.
I've never really read a Hugo Strange story. He seems to pop up more in other media that I've noticed. Like, he was a big villain on Gotham, I think.
Okay.
And I'm actually I'm surprised he didn't show up in one of the Nolan movies, because that seems like a character that Nolan would have cherry picked in some capacity to put into those movies, like even like as a secondary character or something.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious how much Nolan did for research on Batman at all. Like, I don't imagine him and his brother doing a deep dive on Batman.
Well, I think they did a decent amount. Because if you think of the stuff, like especially the first movie that they did, they're using Ducard, who was an existing character, and they're having Batman train with the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul, and that's I mean that's not top level Batman stuff, you know.
That's true. I guess my impression is that they had people they ask questions to, like, what do you want to see in a Batman movie? Who are some characters I could look into? Because there's so much in the mythos now that I mean maybe his brother wrote it.
It was they wrote it. It was Nolan, his brother, and also David Goyer.
Okay.
And it actually wouldn't surprise me if most of the comic stuff came from Goyer.
That's what I was sort of suggesting.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me.
You had some kind of long-term fan in the meeting, and they sort of pointed you and like, "Oh, Chris, trust me, you should check out this stuff. This is totally up your alley."
Yeah.
He's like, "All right, great, let's go that direction." I don't know. He didn't strike me as a guy who read a lot of comics.
Yeah, I think if you got to talking with him and you were like, I don't think you would have a long conversation riffing about your favorite Batman villains.
Yeah.
You know?
So what do you think about Hugo Strange?
Yeah. Hugo Strange. I love Hugo Strange. I've been a big fan. No, I don't think so.
I really wanted to get him into that movie, but he just wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who I really love is the Condiment King.
If you threw that down, I'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of villains that he could have used. Like Firefly would have been a cool one.
Yeah.
There are some more grounded but still weird characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hugo Strange is one I'm surprised he didn't use.
Yeah.
And I've always seen Hugo Strange as sort of like a catch-all for like he's kind of a. If you need a villain who's just a mad scientist, you go to Hugo Strange.
Yep.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
I would love to know if anybody listening can point to a great Hugo Strange story, because I would love to read it.
Yeah, I'd be open to that. He totally reads as a guy who was developed in the 40s, sort of a German accent.
Yeah, he even looks like, a fairly traditional mad scientist character.
Yeah,
and that I actually liked because in this episode, because he kind of he really fits the look of the show, because he has that Fleischer-y kind of look to him.
Right.
And this episode in particular had a lot of Fleischer era sci-fi stuff to it, like the machine that he's in and the probes coming down.
Yeah, with the rounded off tips. Yeah. I guess for me, the difference of these two episodes is they're both campy, and it's obvious that it's a kid's show, but there's a right way to do camp and there's a wrong way to do camp. And this one feels like the wrong way to do camp because it's just not that great of an episode.
Yeah, it's not. I don't really feel like it's too developed. It's been really interesting looking at these episodes, because every time there's one like this one, would you say this has more story or less story, or about the same story to it as the ninja episode?
I think less.
Less? Okay.
Only because the flashbacks with Bruce.
Yeah,
and
okay, that's fair.
Ken,
so
a little deeper.
You have an episode like this that doesn't really have a lot of story to it.
Yeah.
And then you've got episodes like Heart of Ice, where it's like they packed a shitload of stuff into 25 minutes or 22 minutes.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see how it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can really knock it out of the park.
Right.
And not that this was bad. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it was probably one of the weaker ones,
right.
But it wasn't awful.
Yeah. I mean, if you imagine that you got the pitches for Heart of Ice in this one. This one it seems like it has a lot more going on in it.
Yeah.
Heart of Ice is like, there's a villain who wants to save his wife. He's not really a bad guy, but he's driven to do bad things, and it's a love story.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, sure, fine. Yeah. Snow Globe, all right, I guess that works. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have picked that for the best episode of the series at the development stage. This one seems like it has more stuff in it, but I think it sort of misses the mark because it fails to take itself seriously at any point. Yeah. It's just too goofy to believe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on paper, this sounds really good. Like, if you were to pitch me this episode, I would say, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting take. And actually, there's an episode of The Prisoner, which is...
And it all goes back to The Prisoner review.
My God, I hope.
This is the American version, right?
No. You're fired. There's an episode of The Prisoner called A, B, and C, where the way that they try to extract information out of number 6. If you're not familiar with The Prisoner, there's this guy, number 6. He's a retired spy who's been whisked away, unbeknownst to him, to this place called The Village, where they're just trying to get all of his spy information out of him, and he doesn't know if it's bad guys who run it or good guys who run it or somebody else. And every episode is like a mind fuck, basically, to try to get him to break. And there's an episode where they're trying to get this information about a specific party that he went to and this person that he talked to. So they develop this computer machine that basically creates a virtual reality out of his memory and places him back into that environment and night. And they watch him and they see how he went through the evening. So basically they put him back into his memory and then see how the memory plays out. And then eventually he figures out what's going on. So he has a strong enough will that he starts fucking with the machine.
Right.
And they're trying to find out the identity of the person who gave him this information or this secret. And he ends up turning it on them. So in his dream, he says, oh, it was the guy who's actually running this machine who did it. And so he gets, and that one was I really like the way that they did it there, where they play it seriously. It's super campy. It's one of the campiest episodes. This show is from the 60s. It's a British show from the 60s.
Very mod.
Yeah, a lot of lava lamps. But the way that they play it is so fascinating and interesting, and there's some tension built into it that this doesn't have, because it is pretty straightforward. Again, kid show, whatever. But yeah, they kind of just they scrape the interesting stuff to the side in favor of like a airplane chase at the end, and just.
Is there a better version of this episode where someone finds proof that Bruce is Batman, and basically you hit the same beats, but you don't need the sci-fi brain computer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, the idea that there's someone out there who has the information.
Right.
I think I kind of jokingly said it as we were watching it. I was like, why did the Joker and those guys even bring money? Why don't they just shoot him and take the tape?
Yeah.
So I think the more interesting version is there's someone who has that information, tries to sell it, and then the villains are like, no, we're not giving you money. We're going to kill you and take it.
And so Batman has to save him.
Yeah, so then he ends up on the run while these guys are trying to, these villains are trying to fight to get the tape.
So then Batman would stick his neck out to save this guy.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the guy would turn on him again, but Batman would know it, so then Robin would show up dressed as Bruce Wayne.
Sure.
And you could still foil his plan that way.
Yeah.
Or it makes more sense if Robin just dresses up as Batman, because it just there's less to do.
Yeah, something like that. I think
that sounds scarier too.
Yeah.
It's just things that happen at spas aren't scary.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If I, honestly, if I was gonna do a Batman movie that had like, if they were like, all right, we want to do a Batman movie, we want to have as many villains as possible, that's what I would do. I would be like, okay, well then we'll make the point that someone has Batman's secret identity and he's going to expose it.
Right.
So now you've got all of these villains. Like what's that movie? Is it Smokin' Aces?
Oh, yeah.
Where Jeremy Piven's in the building, and then all these assassins are trying to fight each other to get to this guy to kill him to get the reward.
Yeah.
Something like that, where you've got that going, but you've got Batman in the middle, where he has to defend that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Scott might have done something like that. Snyder. I think All-Star Batman that he wrote there's a big story where Batman was escorting Two-Face somewhere, and he had to get him safely from point A to point B while everybody was like coming in. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
But so it works. It's that kind of story works.
Nice. Yeah, gotta read that one. I missed that one. Is there anything that you'd want to draw? Oh, sorry. Before we get on to that, I noticed that lately there's a lot of blowback against when you show the scene where Bruce's parents get killed. I see a lot of people say, I don't need to see the pearls ripped from her necklace and her hit the ground in the gun, and Bruce kneeling in a circular shadow of the street lamp, whatever. Like, I don't need to see that stuff anymore. I don't know what happened, what made people start to turn on writers and artists who love to depict this horrible thing that happened to Bruce over and over again.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Oh, definitely. I think it's just a response to origin stories in general.
Yeah.
Because there are so many comic book movies now that when you're doing a character and it's like, okay, we're going to start at the beginning and then we're going to see how they get from point A to point B. Yeah. I think it's just a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
What was it? Batman vs Superman got a lot of shit for that, and I actually thought the way that they did that in the movie was one of the better parts of the movie, because they just did it over the credits and they kind of did it quickly just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But I agree to an extent,
Yeah, it's just not as dramatic when you have to see it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And the Bruce's nightmare sequence in this wasn't nearly as good as it was with Scarecrow. They showed a lot of the same beats, but weren't as well animated, weren't as scary. I mean, the tombstone's growing. I guess that's fine, but yeah.
I guess for me, it's like, why are you showing it? Are you showing it just to show it, or is there, like, for instance, Batman versus Superman didn't feel like they needed it because everybody knows who Batman is. Yeah. That's the death of his family is not really part of that story.
Yeah.
But in Batman '89, the only reason it's in the movie at all is to show that the Joker killed his parents.
Yeah.
So that's not an origin movie. The origin pops up in the middle there, but the only reason it's there is to connect him to the Joker.
Yeah. I guess when people put that scene in a comic, when I read it in the script, I tend to think, oh, the writer's basically saying this. Hey, this is deep and profound. Ooh, there you go. People are really going to be stirred by this. But you see it so much now, you don't even think about how horrible that must have been for Bruce Wayne. Like, it's just so played out that it's not even profound anymore. It's like, yep, got it, parents died, and you don't want to say that about his main reason for being Batman,
Yeah.
So when they handle it too lightly, it's like, don't even bother handling it at all if you're not going to reframe it in a new way, or like you said with the '89. For White Knight, this isn't too spoilery, but I had a scene that takes place, spoilers, Bruce's parents die. I don't know if you know, it was a really dramatic scene in an alleyway with a gun.
Never been depicted.
Yeah, you gotta show it. No one's ever depicted it. Yeah,
nope, no one.
Yeah. But it's the day after, or a few days after, and Alfred's like, Bruce, you're not ready. You need to get something on. And basically, they're late for the funeral. Bruce doesn't want to go. And he's staring at Alfred's swords. And Alfred would never let him play with the swords because they were too dangerous. And my book has kind of like a swashbuckling Zorro type of vibe in some of the flashbacks. So I was trying to bring that to the main line with this other flashback. Anyway, so my take on it was, instead of showing Bruce's parents get killed, I wanted to show how guilty he felt.
Yeah.
And it's not that he feels guilty just because he didn't do anything in that moment, but also because he made them go to see The Mask of Zorro. Like, they didn't want to go, but he's like, I need to see this movie.
Yeah.
And the reason he wanted to see the movie is because he thought if he could watch Zorro use swords, Alfred maybe would let him use the swords. So Alfred, fucking dog. Alfred's, I guess it's a spoiler, but whatever, it's too late. He agrees to, if you come to the funeral with me, if you, if you're brave enough to go to the funeral, then you're brave enough to learn how to use a sword, and I will start to teach you how to fight. So the next time something like this happens, you will know what to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the beginning of Bruce becoming Batman, with Alfred teaching him how to use these swords. And of course, the sword theme is big with Azrael in the story.
Yep.
Yada, yada, yada.
And that's why Bruce Wayne, age 12 to 25, always carried a gigantic sword with him until he went overseas, and they were like, "You got to stop doing that." Like Highlander, he just wears a giant coat all the time.
Oh God. Oh man, we should try to recreate some of that Highlander discussion we had last night. That was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if people would want to listen to that. I think it's I think part of it is that they just keep going back to the same imagery, because the imagery that people always pull out is essentially Frank Miller's imagery, right? Yeah. It's the pearls, it's the kneeling underneath the streetlight. Yeah. Everybody wants to do that.
Right.
But nobody ever, I think the way that they did it in Batman Begins was great, because the thing I remembered from seeing that for the first time is how abrasive and shocking the gunshot was. Like, it sounded like a real gunshot. It didn't feel like a movie. It was like a really hard concussive blast that really, catches you off guard.
Right.
And it was more about the character than it was about the imagery. There's actually, have you ever seen Comic Book Girl 19 on YouTube?
No.
She's one of those people who reviews movies and comics and stuff, and she does some pretty good stuff. And she was doing a review of Batman versus Superman, which she was just not being kind to it whatsoever. Yeah. But the whole video, she was also making a pearl necklace, because she was so tired of seeing that, the flying pearls everywhere, that she was making a pearl necklace, which she knows how to do, to show people, like, that doesn't actually happen, because every pearl is individually tied on. So if the string breaks, the pearls don't fall off. So it's one of she was so tired of seeing the flying pearls everywhere that she was like, I just need to put this out in the world.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So the forensics team who discovered Bruce's mom's body would say, this is either a cheap pearl necklace
Yes.
because it wasn't done correctly.
The real crime here is how little Thomas Wayne spent on his wife's jewelry.
All right. And possibly her shoes.
Yes.
But we can get to that later.
Yeah. But, the one other thing that I really liked in this episode, because I don't know if they've done it before, is so at the end, after the plane crashes in the middle of the desert, the police have to show up. And they actually show up in a blimp that they practically use. They land it, and then they load everybody onto it, and then it flies away, which I didn't know they actually used those other than just to look cool.
Yeah. Every time I see those blimps, I think, man, they're so cool. I wish I had used them in my book, but I totally forgot.
Yeah,
And,
really impractical in a city.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're landing that shit.
Yeah. Maybe for volume 3, if I get into Batman Beyond, we can have the blimp initiative.
Future blimps?
Yeah.
Like the blimp in Blade Runner that has the screen on it and shit. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Corporate sponsored blimp.
Yeah.
And then they've got the only flying car is the Batmobile or whatever you call that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as drawing, I don't know. This is a tough one.
I would not want to draw Bruce's parents getting killed or
Yeah.
any of that memory nightmare stuff. You want to draw a spa? Spa.
Yeah.
Plane crash?
Maybe.
No.
I don't know.
Robin on
what I
stilts?
would like to draw? I think drawing the auction scene could be fun. Especially, like I was saying, I'm surprised that Joker eating the popcorn hasn't turned into a GIF the way like Michael Jackson eating the popcorn has, because it'd be a good one to use.
Yep.
But I think you could have some fun in that. It's not really flashy, but you get to draw 4 different iconic villains, and you can play with it a little bit. This is probably the least interesting one I've ever said.
Yeah. I would redraw Robin at the end, who's wearing stilts.
Oh, yeah.
So he's dressed up as Bruce Wayne to fool everyone into thinking Bruce and Batman are different people. And he takes off the coat or whatever, and he reveals that he's got these like lifts on that are like 8 inches. But the way that they animated it, it looks like Robin is standing at the regular height. But remember the show King of the Hill? Mm-hmm. Hank Hill's dad, who had nothing from the knees down, and he kind of walked and it looked like he had really long arms for sure. That's how Robin looked. The animation was just, it wasn't even animated. It was just a still shot, and they didn't even get that right.
Yeah.
It looks like a squat, stumpy action figure before Todd McFarlane reinvented action figures.
Yes. Yeah. I'm changing my answer.
Okay.
So what I would draw, just because I would need to find something in this to really have fun with, I would do a double-page spread of Gordon and Batman talking in the foreground at a normal size, and then the background across 2 pages would be the blimp. And they'd be loading the villains into the blimp underneath it. So you'd have some desert stuff, and then this massive blimp going across 2 pages.
Yeah.
And then the normal sized guys in the foreground just talking about it.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me want that play set, because they never had any action figure blimp. You could make it like a toy carrying kit that's blimp shaped.
Yeah. With those new figures that they're doing, you never know.
Yeah.
They might do a blimp. They haven't gotten to a lot of vehicles, but if they're making vehicles, you got to get the blimp, and you got to have the paddy wagon,
right?
With that weird looking paddy wagon.
Yeah, maybe even have it like as a play set where the paddy wagon is inside or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So I drew that paddy wagon in my book, and it's actually a real vehicle made by GM in the 50s, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy looking vehicle.
Yeah.
It's too bad people can't see what I'm talking about, because this point doesn't really matter.
The last thing I'll say about this episode is, a couple episodes ago we had a discussion about whether or not I think it was based off of the does Batman kill thing.
Yeah.
And I was saying that my interpretation of Batman is that he is not an agent of revenge. In this one, he very much says that he wants revenge. Mm-hmm. But I think that it still falls under my interpretation of he wanted revenge initially, but then has turned into something else since then.
On. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's tough to get that across in a kid's show.
Yeah.
It's much easier to get across, they did something bad to me, so I want to do something bad to them.
Yeah. What did we say? There's like 3 stages of Batman. There's revenge, new, fresh Batman who just wants revenge.
Yep.
Then there's been doing it for a while Batman,
Mm-hmm.
which is, in and out of typical Batman stuff. And then you get older Batman who's like, why am I still doing this?
Yeah.
Does he acknowledge he's getting older? Or is the city moving on without him? That kind of Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely most Batmans are stage 2 Batmans.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there to unpack with him, which is what makes him such a great character.
This whole debate that popped up about Batman not killing, it made me go back and tweak some things in my script to make it like my Batman does not kill. And I never thought of it any other way because that's just what my editors told me. That's what the cartoon says. You know, at one point he thinks he accidentally kills someone and he's devastated by it. I think it's the next episode actually. But yeah, so I went back and like reinforced that. So there's an ancestor of Bruce Wayne. This isn't too spoilery, and he doesn't kill either. And it's important that he doesn't kill because he ends up sort of maybe breaking his rule, which you learn all that in issue 1. But yeah, it was interesting to sort of reinforce that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have done that except for this weird argument that's broken out lately about does Batman kill? You know?
Yeah, because I remember you and I had a fairly long conversation about it when you were really planning out Curse of White Knight, where I won't say exactly where it happens, but there was a point where I was like, ooh, that's coming real close.
Yeah. Apparently it's not a big deal to a lot of people, like Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. We don't need to relitigate the Batman killing thing because we did it like in podcast time 2 episodes ago.
That's true, yeah. And then there's the whole Superman killing, and who wants to get into that?
Yeah, we'll save that for the Superman podcast.
God, don't make me do that.
Yeah.
So for a rating, what would you give this?
2.
Yeah, it's gonna go between 2 and a 3.
Yeah, it's fine, I guess.
Yep.
I think it's a lot of rehash with a different coat of paint on it.
Yep.
The animation's crappy.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Have we had a 1 yet? I don't know if we've had a 1. I don't know what a 1 on this show would look like, frankly.
I gave out a 1 once, I think.
Yeah.
I was probably between a 1 and a 2.
Yeah. It's going to be a real garbage fire in this show for it to be a 1, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think of it later.
Yeah. Maybe it was it the Rat King one? The I don't know.
No, because
I hate that episode.
That was great animation, though.
Yeah.
It can't be a 1. Yeah. I forget. We should go back and make sure.
Yeah, let's sit here and not look anything up and just waste time wondering.
Just wonder.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with the next one. All right, hey everyone, we're back. The next episode we're talking about is If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Written by David Wise and directed by Eric Radomski. Edward Nygma creates the video game The Riddle of the Minotaur for the company Competitron, but is fired by his superior Daniel Mockridge, who wants the profits for himself. Nygma vows revenge and takes up the mantle of the Riddler 2 years later. While Batman sympathizes with Nygma, he and Robin find themselves forced to stop him before he kills Mockridge in a life-size version of the Minotaur maze. Despite successfully rescuing Mockridge, these things are terrible. Despite successfully rescuing Mockridge, who complete a deal to move his company to Gotham.
That's not even spelled correctly.
Self-editing.
Yep.
The incident leaves him in a permanent, all-consuming fear of Nygma's return for revenge. Note, this episode features the series debut appearance of the Riddler. And the thing I was thinking about halfway through this when the Riddler shows up, is there like a guy or like a catalog that these villains go to when they decide to become villains?
Get henchmen.
Yeah, where is it like, do they show up and the guy's like, okay, what package you want? You got number 2, where you get a car, you get a mask, you get a license plate, you get 1 gun, 1 funny gun, and you get the choice of 2 henchmen or 3 henchmen and no gun.
The 3 henchmen have to be Curly, Larry, and Moe, by the way.
They're not good. They're not branded henchmen. You pay more, you get the branded henchmen.
Yeah, this is called the Ha Ha package. Very popular with the Joker.
For this amount, you get to pick which on-theme hideout you will get in the city. We currently have 1 amusement park open. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would
all
be.
you've proven is that your thug voice is much better than mine.
That would be a fun story, actually, to do like the guy who helps them supply all that shit.
Yeah.
Like they touch on that stuff, and like in Daredevil, they have the guy that builds the costume and stuff.
Yeah.
But it would be really funny to have like.
That would make...
You know how they have they actually have cat. You ever go? Obviously, you've been to church. You go to a Catholic church, you never really think about, where the hell did they get all this shit? There's a catalog that they go to buy
Yeah.
angel statues and cups, like branded cups, gold cups and shit.
Yeah.
So it would be really funny to see the depot where all of these new villains go to get their gear.
That would be an amazing Darkwing Duck episode.
Yes.
Because it's Batman enough, but it's funny enough where it's Darkwing Duck.
Yep.
Yeah, and you could totally take the piss out of Batman or any henchman villain, honestly.
Yeah.
Villain story.
Story. Like when the one guy comes in and he's like, all right, what's your name? He's like, I'm the Condiment King. He's like, what? Okay. Sure.
The sign said I could be anything I wanted. Yeah, all right. I didn't know.
Or is it like wrestling? Is it like wrestling where you come in with an idea and then that guy like helps you?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe the Condiment King comes in and he has like a better idea.
Right.
But the guy's like, well, what do you like to do? And he's like, well, I work at a burger joint. He's like, wait, hold on. The Condiment King.
Right.
We'll give you a yellow gun and a red gun.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I don't.
Right.
I want to be Deathmaster. And he's like, no. You are the Condiment King.
Yeah. It's like villain consultant.
Yes.
It's like an image consultant for villains, or like PR and branding for villains.
Yeah.
Huh. What if there's a way to do that in a serious way?
You're kind of doing it in Curse of White Knight a little bit, actually.
How so?
I don't want to get into it to be spoilery.
Never mind.
We can talk about it later. Or you could just read the book when it comes out. Plug. This one was weird for me because it's, as you said in the last episode incorrectly about this one.
Oh yeah, the animation.
The animation is really like fluid and has this. There's a lot more movement to it than there usually is.
Yeah.
Like whether or not it was, I don't know if it was a different animation house or if like this is the first Riddler episode, so they're putting a little more back into it. But even that, it's like they picked it's not really that impressive looking of an episode.
No, the extra movement on Batman, like he doesn't just talk to Robin. He talks, turns his head, tilts it back, turns his shoulders, turns it back, reaches behind his cape. It's a lot of like unnecessary movement that I can almost guarantee the people who wrote the episode didn't give this to the animation studio. It felt to me like the animation studio was like, oh my God, we have Batman. Let's really do this right. Let's go all out. Let's stay late. Let's do like extra little movements on Batman. It's going to be amazing. It felt like they were trying to prove their worth to Warner Brothers or something.
Yeah.
They went super Max Fleischer.
Yeah.
They went like off model of the animated series and went to the source, which was the Fleischer cartoons.
Yeah. It almost feels like, do you remember when we watched the pencil test?
Oh yeah.
Where Batman had a lot more movement in him?
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Yeah. Good point.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe it has something to do with that, like the Riddler's a big character, so they want to put the extra, I don't know.
But is he a big character? Because I was starting to think, like, how important is the Riddler? I know he's classic, but who's really using... I've never done a Riddler commission or seen a lot of people dressed up at shows as Riddler.
Yeah. I'm not totally sure. I mean, I think... I was thinking that too as I was watching it. I was like, is there a great Riddler story that I've read? Yeah. And the answer is no. But that is also showing my ignorance as far as Riddler comics go. He's been around since the 40s. Yeah. He's made... Whereas, for instance, Hugo Strange on his Wikipedia entry has like a bunch of different breakdowns of the ways he's changed over the years and like a pre-crisis and post-crisis, and then he was this. Or like the Mad Hatter. Remember we were looking at the Mad Hatter and it's like they've reinvented him like 9,000 times? Yeah. Riddler has pretty much stayed the same. Yeah. He's a guy who likes riddles and he causes crimes that are riddle based, and that's about it. He probably has one of the more consistent gimmicks in all of Batman.
I mean, I don't know of any series that like here's the 12-issue climax of why the Riddler is the best villain. Yeah. This writer remade the Riddler. You think you like the Riddler? You don't know the Riddler until you read this. There isn't that story out there.
Yeah, I mean, if there is, I'm not aware of it. I know that they did a series, Tom King did a series with him in Batman called The War of Jokes and Riddles. Right. That was like the Joker and Riddler facing off somehow, which I haven't read. So maybe that's one. I'm not sure. And I think Scott used him. Yeah, I know Scott used him somewhat recently. In something. I don't remember. But yeah, again, another one. Like Hugo Strange, if there's like a definitive Riddler story, I would love to know. I would love to read it. Right. I do remember very clearly in the 90s, even at the time I recognized this was weird, where the Riddler's a fairly waifish character, I guess you could say. He's not a fighter. Mm-hmm. He uses his brain. Yeah. And for some reason in the 90s, they were like, we need to punch the Riddler up a little bit. So I think there was a storyline where they juiced him up with Venom, the Bane stuff.
Yeah.
So I very clearly remember these covers, which I think were early Travis Charest covers.
Oh yeah.
Where the Riddler was just like a jacked '90s guy, and I was like, this is where we are, where even the Riddler has like ripped abs and.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what kind of story I would want. If you gave me, let's say that you and I each get a chance to do a 6-issue miniseries of the Riddler, do whatever you want. Would you make the story about him, his past, what drives him, why he's like this? Would you, where would you go with it?
I would put some edge to him. The Riddler always seemed like he kind of feels like he's a knockoff of the Joker a little bit because his problems are very gimmick based, and it's always like gimmicks for the sake of his own amusement.
Right.
So I think what I would do, and like they're never really that deadly. Like it never really seems like there's that much at stake with the Riddler.
Right.
I would think I would do basically like a Saw story, where I would add some edge to the stuff that he's doing.
Interesting.
And I wouldn't go full that way. I wouldn't turn it into like that dark. But I think he has the potential there that you could play him more like the Zodiac Killer or something, where he's sending encrypted messages to Gotham, or making these puzzles that are a lot more sinister and a lot more like, you have 35 minutes to figure this out, or these things are going to like slice you in half or something.
Yeah.
The key is in your own stomach or whatever.
Gross. Yeah, that's definitely a good way to go. I was going to go the route where he's an unwilling villain. So his family's kidnapped, and he's this software engineer who's OCD, and everything's in its place. Loves spreadsheets, and he's got like a tragic past where he used to be a villain, and someone makes him do something crazy to hold Gotham City hostage or whatever. And Batman thinks that he's the villain, but you find out that he's just a victim, and at the end, he has to use his brains to defeat the real villain, whoever's like blackmailing him or something.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do a Riddler story where he's never really that threatening, then there you go. Like he's doing. Yes, he's a villain, but he's got a goal here to save his family. So now he's not a villain anymore.
Yeah. I would go the other way because I find him more interesting as a villain who is the product of overconfidence, basically, and thinking that everybody else is not as smart as you are,
right? And
trying to prove that by outsmarting everybody,
right? Yeah, that's true.
So I like there actually was a fan trailer after Dark Knight the movie came out, where someone had made a fan trailer for the third Nolan Batman, and they had cut in Johnny Depp from like that movie he was in, Secret Window or something. It was like some weird Johnny Depp movie, and also stuff from Zodiac, the Fincher movie, and positioned him as this like weird serial killer. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's so good. But yeah, like I really like this idea that he's this more than a lot of the other characters. He's so spiteful.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's misplaced. He's so spiteful about the way he's been treated that he's just like, no, fuck all of you. I'm going to show you how smart I am, and you're going to regret it.
Right. You would be like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
The villain version of it.
Yeah, like if Elon Musk was less evil than in real life, and then
guy gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
I'm not defending some of the stuff he said, but you could tone it down.
But that kind of like that level of intelligence, who was like ended up going down the wrong path, and now is either got screwed along the way or something.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, the crux of it. So I teed him up as this guy who's obsessed with puzzles and stuff. But I think you're right that the better angle on him is arrogance. He knows, in quotes, that he's smarter than everybody, and he's just this vindictive nerd who's tired of being picked on. And that's his revenge. He's just torturing people like he was tortured in some weird way. Yeah,
because for Batman to beat the Riddler, you don't have to punch the Riddler in the face. You just have to best him.
Right.
And that's enough.
Right.
And that's actually not entirely dissimilar to the way that they treated him in Batman Forever, because he definitely does have that arrogant nature to him.
Yeah.
But obviously that's just more cartoonish and silly.
Might just be Jim Carrey.
True. Yeah. But yeah, I've always liked that he is the one character who's driven by spite, basically.
Yeah.
Which is a very powerful motivator.
Yeah, that's my main motivator.
As for this episode itself,
Oh, I was going to say one thing.
Yeah.
I loved as a kid that Robin played video games.
yeah,
I thought it was neat because this is in 1993 or 4, so it was right where Super Nintendo started to take over and Nintendo ended, Sega Genesis hit. And, even at the time, the game Robin plays it looks like adventure for Atari. It's not complicated. But I still love that he was a gamer and that the riddles of the game of this episode actually made it into the game I bought for Super Nintendo of this animated series.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me that. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a whole level where you're going through a maze and you're asked these same exact questions. On a globe, what's the shortest distance between 2 points? It's got to be a curve.
Well,
Unless the Earth is flat.
there we go.
Have you ever mentioned your flat Earth thing?
No, it's not. Okay. It's not a thing. I'm fascinated by people who believe it. I don't believe it myself. End of story.
Right. Next time we'll do a special podcast for certain listeners who would love to waste 2 hours listening to Clay explain why flat earthers are interesting people.
There are plenty of other podcasts you can listen to or YouTube videos that you can watch about that.
Can we talk about our cocktail that we came up with last night called the Flat Earth?
Sure.
So we know this bartender, and I said to her, "Can you make a new cocktail based off I'll give you a word, and you make up a cocktail." And she's like, "Yeah, sure." So I said, "Make a cocktail called the Flat Earth." And she just sort of blinked and walked away, and she knows that's my sense of humor. Anyway, so Clay and I were actually sincerely trying to come up with what would a Flat Earth cocktail look like, and we came up with any old alcohol that's about to spoil.
Yep.
You pour it into a flat cookie tray, and you just dump a bunch of straws into it, and you just hand it to people.
Yep, that's about it. Yeah. An old Coors Light, one beer.
One beer.
Poured in a giant cookie
There's no
sheet.
right or wrong way. You don't know how to drink it. You just agree that it's flat.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you could sort of bond with those people that you're sharing this cookie tray with while everyone in the bar stares at you strangely.
Yes.
You are convinced that they don't understand the brilliance that you've discovered.
Yeah. I'm sure they probably serve that in like Williamsburg or something already.
Oh, that is a tangent.
Yeah. That's why I need to isolate that sound bit of the Joker going, focus, anytime we go too off track.
I'm down with that.
But yeah, it's funny. I actually thought this was, it reminded me of Bandersnatch, the Black Mirror episode. And I was kind of thinking like, oh, that's actually, that character would make a good Riddler. Like the dude that he goes to who's like all weirded out on the drugs and stuff, who's like the best game designer. It's like, I could see that character spinning off into the Riddler. So I believe that this is a plausible beginning for the Riddler, I guess.
Right.
This felt kind of boring to me for an origin.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Because it was just basically like,
Yeah.
it felt like it actually felt kind of like taking a shot at the comic industry.
Oh,
because the Riddler's whole thing is that he got screwed out of the royalties for his creation because he signed a work for hire deal.
Yeah, he didn't read his contract. It's his game. This giant corporation's making money on it.
Yeah, and then even later, Mockridge is like, we've already built an amusement park. We're not giving anything to the people who created this shit.
And Bruce is like, I don't care. I want jobs.
Yeah.
So artist loses to capitalism in multiple forms.
Once again.
Damn you, capitalism.
But yeah, I felt like it was kind of boring. I mean, I guess spite is a tough thing to illustrate.
Right.
Right up there with dignity.
What about a version of Riddler that's based off of Limitless?
Okay.
Like he's just super smart and he takes a drug that makes him even smarter, and he's a scrawny dude, but he's able to remember all of his favorite kung fu movies. There's not enough riddliness in it, but I feel like that's a good jumping off point for a way you could take the character.
That feels like a 2000s era update of the Riddler.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Clock King. Sorry. So, no, that's not Clock King. What I meant to say is I feel like Riddler and Clock King have a lot of crossover.
They do. Yeah. Actually, every time that I go to think about that Clock King episode, I think it's a Riddler episode.
Yeah.
Because they are very similar. That's another spite-based character.
Yeah. The thing is, I like Clock King better than the Riddler.
Yeah, I would say as far as episodes go, the Clock King episode is better than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a concept too. Like if you told me to write a one shot, I'd rather do Clock King over Riddler. Like the green and the goofiness is just, I don't know. Even when I'm not the Jim Carrey version, the giggly Adam West style. Like I did like this toned down like guy wearing a suit and a bowler hat type of Riddler. You know?
He's still a little campy. John Glover does the voice.
That's what I think that's the best part.
Great.
Yeah.
And he would have made a fantastic Riddler if in a movie.
Yeah.
John Glover, he's been in tons of stuff.
He played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Yep, Lex Luthor in Smallville. He was in Gremlins 2. He's in Scrooged.
He was in a new movie. A kid dies in a car crash at the beginning.
Is that the name of the movie?
Oh no, it's Umbrella Academy. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he had a short role in Umbrella.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I loved the Riddler. But as I was breaking it down, watching it, I think I liked the voice actor.
Yeah.
He did such a good job.
Yeah.
This is character, and the way that he's written, and designed, I think is good. This episode does miss the mark a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But most of it's there.
He also is in Batman and Robin. He's the scientist that Pamela Isley works for.
Like the kind of nerdy.
Yeah, out in the Amazon. He's the one who develops the formula that turns her into Poison Ivy and Bane into Bane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, he had glasses on in the
Yep.
role. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Clock King is one. When he goes to the outfit guy, is he like, "What do you want? You really like time? Give him the glasses with the clock face on it and get out of here."
I look at you. I don't see henchmen. I see cane shaped like the hand of an hour clock. Next.
Yeah.
You're late.
Subtle. It's for the intelligent superhero.
You don't stand out. You get to wear your butler costume, basically.
Yeah. You keep your same clothes. You don't have a lot of money, I understand. Here's a pair of glasses. Get out of my store.
It's a great voice, man. I wish I could do a thug voice.
I was going to look back at my notes, and I was like, "Oh, they're mostly about this guy who's giving villains new stuff." I don't actually know if I was paying attention to the episode. I do really like Batman being a smartass to Robin.
Oh yeah, he does it a few times.
Yeah, it's the first. Usually, Robin is kind of making a quip at Batman, and Batman is being kind of like stoic about it.
Yeah.
At this point, because apparently, I'm assuming Batman just thinks video games are stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's all like.
Yeah.
So you've done this before, and he's like, "Yeah, I've played this level," and then something goes wrong. And he's like, "Well, clearly you were an idiot and haven't played this level."
You know what it is? This episode reminds me of the other Riddler episode where there's a gift delivered to the police department. And it's a giant computer, and you wear this headset, and it takes you into this like Riddler Wonderland, and he fucks with you basically.
Yeah.
It's a virtual reality thing. It's basically a better version of this episode. And I think when I always think, oh yeah, I love Riddler episodes. I think I sort of mushed these two episodes together into one amazing episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to skip to the end, I'd probably go 3.5 out of 5 on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say. Well, I was thinking. I was going to ask, where would you place this as far as villain
origin stories?
Villain first episodes. It's still better than Scarecrow. Scarecrow is by far the worst one.
This is pretty middling.
Yeah.
It's saved by the voice actor, and I think just how Riddler is written.
Yeah.
But the plot doesn't necessarily do him any favors.
Yeah.
I mean, you just get henchmen.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, it'd be nice if they went in. I mean, did he even need them really?
Not really.
Yeah.
No. It feels about on par with Two-Face.
Yeah.
Where again, it feels like a condensed version of that. Where because Two-Face, the first half of that Two-Face episode is great, and then the second half. He just shows up with all of his branded gear on, with his branded henchmen, because he's got money. He could pay for the branded henchmen. And
oh, Mr. Fancy Pants, I'm going to charge you double. I think you know why.
See, it's great. This character needs to be White Knight 3. Is all about the guy who gives the villains their merchandise.
The henchman. What do you want to call him?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to come up with a name. How about this? I paint half the room purple. You're gonna love it. What the hell was I talking about?
I don't know.
The first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. It's not a great introduction. It's an interesting enough story, I guess. It was interesting to learn that Batman's computer cost $50 million.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
And I mean, it's just going to be outdated in like 8 years anyway.
Yeah,
So.
and half as fast.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like one of those computers from like the 60s when computers took up entire rooms.
Right.
But the screens were like 12 by 12 inches or something.
I love that shit.
Yeah, all the reel to real
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I love that. Anytime I draw a computer in a comic, I just go for that. Just because who cares? It's awesome. One of the things that I remember reading about Riddler, I think it was in that oversized art book for the animated series that came back out in the 90s. Some good info in there. And one of the things I think I read was Dini or Tim talking about they liked the Riddler, but writing his episodes were so time consuming that they just didn't get to do Riddler very much just because of time constraints.
Because you got to come up with riddles and shit.
Yeah, and like even though they did the best they could, half of them are like, okay, there's a lot of logic leaps to Batman figuring it out.
Yeah,
but you just kind of go with it because
Batman's riddle at the end, where he's before he brings the hand in or whatever, it's something really lame. It's I've got a riddle for you.
Yeah,
what's the best way to beat a Minotaur? With a fist.
Does he even like stall like that? Like whatever.
I feel like he should. I feel like there's another scene after that where he's like, I didn't have time. This is the best I could do.
I got a Riddler.
Not my best work. Not
I got a riddle.
best.
Fuck you, Riddler.
Yeah.
The end.
Robin being like, yeah, that's not your best work, man.
Fuck you too, Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's right. I feel like Batman cheating and stealing the floating hand to just skip to the end. Like, I don't know if I wanted Batman to beat Riddler by his own rules and not cheat to win. Yeah. Even as a kid, I think that slightly bugged me.
Yeah, I think ideally, well, that's what's kind of weird because that whole thing at the end with the maze is like it's.
Can you climb on top of the wall?
Yeah,
just run
you
over
could theoretically, like in Labyrinth or whatever. I think they do that. But
grappling hook to the ceiling and then look down and drop yourself in the
middle. He didn't. They didn't. He had to take the belt off. He didn't have the guns. There we go.
Phaser guns.
Yeah.
What kind of Batman you watching?
Pew pew pew. Modern Batman. Yeah, I kind of wish that Batman had beaten him on a more cerebral level, but kid show.
Yeah.
Got to have robots and shit, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that would bring us to what would you draw from the episode if you could reinterpret something?
Yeah. Batman does beat him on the cerebral level in the next episode with Riddler, which is great. So, yeah, I think I would draw... I think the Minotaur with the sword.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. It's the best imagery, really.
Yeah, best set piece.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably be the same.
Yeah. Or maybe Robin sitting and playing a video game in the Batcave.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, like an old pixel art game.
Yeah, have like a nice splash page, lots of shadow of Robin sitting in front of that giant screen.
Yeah, and he's playing the game Space Shuttle.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, we played the NES game Space Shuttle last night, and it's probably the worst game I've ever played in my life.
Level 1 is because no one's asking.
Nope.
But level 1 is you can't even play the game until you sign in, and you need to put in the correct code for which space shuttle. It's already immediately boring.
Yeah, it's real fucking boring.
And then the next task is to get into the space shuttle, but there's a set time limit, which isn't how real space shuttles work.
No.
It's not like, quick, go.
Yeah.
Buzz.
Well, when they say T-10, that's how much time you have to get into it before it shoots. Rockets off. Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the next episode of NES games that are terrible. It's most of them. Yeah, so I'd give this episode, I'd give it a 3. It's fine. It doesn't blow me away, but it's not terrible. I would actually think might even give it like a low 3. Yeah. Because I find it, it's got some interesting stuff in it, but I just don't think it really is up there for me. Well,
so in the last episode, I said that there's good camp and bad camp. For me, this registers as good camp because it's out there, but it's like, well, this is pretty fun. It's a kid show. This is a type of environment and challenge that checks all the Adam West boxes, but it also feels very animated series. Like this, I think it's successful for a lot of good reasons. Yeah. But I agree, it's not quite as great as I remember this one being. Yeah. So a low 3 is fine.
Yeah. I think that's going to do it for us on this episode. If you like us, please leave us a comment or a rating on iTunes. If you have any questions or comments for us directly, you can find us on Twitter at BATTASS Podcast, BATTASS Podcast. And our email address is battasspodcast@gmail.com. And
if you have a name for our henchman sourcing character, we are all ears.
Yes, and just keep in mind it is a work for hire contract, and whatever name you give us is now ours.
So when we build a theme park, we're going to cut you out.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
On that note.
Yeah, you won't even get a dedication in the first volume.
I'm going to charge you double.
So we've got a 2-part next time, so we'll be back with Heart of Steel Part 1 and Part 2. All right, see you guys.
Let the good times roll.